if you are a junior software developer listening to this right now, your job might quietly be disappearing.
Yeah, it's a pretty harsh reality to wake up to.
It really is. But on the flip side, if you know how to supervise the AI that basically just took your tasks, you could be making over $120,000 by next year.
Which is a massive pivot for a lot of people.
Wait, because living and working in 2026, I mean, it feels a lot like standing right on the fault line of this massive tectonic shift.
Yeah.
You can feel the ground shaking under your feet every single day, but it is incredibly hard to tell what's actually happening.
Exactly. You're just trying to figure out if the house is settling or falling down.
Yeah, because on one hand, you have people promising this utopian 4-day work week where machines just do all the heavy lifting for us.
Which sounds great on paper.
Right. But then on the other hand, there is this very palpable anxiety that an AI agent is about to just make you entirely obsolete. It's giving everyone whiplash.
We are definitely in the middle of a structural earthquake in the labor market. And when you're standing in the middle of it, like we are, it's very difficult to see the bigger picture.
Exactly. And we want to figure out what that picture looks like for you. So for today's deep dive, we're stepping away from all those breathless, panic-inducing headlines. We want to look at the actual mechanics of the 2026 workforce.
Because the hype doesn't really help anyone navigate their career.
No, it doesn't. So we've pulled together a huge stack of recent, really heavy-hitting research to just figure out the truth here.
It's a great stack today, honestly.
Yeah, we are going to be looking at working papers from Harvard Business School, some deep dive insights from CIO Magazine, this really extensive workplace survey from the Artifact Group.
That one has some wild productivity stats.
Oh, we will definitely get to those. We also have peer-reviewed research from the Journal of Advanced and Future Research, and finally, a highly detailed 2025 ESP-JT study.
Right, which is that massive forecasting project tracking tech sector employment.
Exactly. Our mission here is to map out exactly how AI is reshaping your work, figure out which jobs are disappearing, which ones are brimming, and help you position yourself to actually thrive in this new era.
And looking at this data, mostly it forces us to look past the theoretical magic of AI. We need to see the actual structural changes happening to human labor, like task by task.
Right. So let's start with the immediate fallout. When generative AI first exploded, I mean, everyone thought it was going to replace creative writers or artists first.
Which made sense at the time, given what it could generate.
Yeah, but looking at the Harvard Business School research by Suraj Srinivasan, that's not exactly what happened, is it?
No, not at all. The data paints a very different picture. They actually analyzed millions of job postings from 2019 all the way through March 2025.
So specifically tracking what happened after ChatGPT launched.
Exactly. And they found that job postings for occupations involving highly structured, repetitive tasks dropped by 13%.
Wow, 13% is a lot.
It's a huge hit. But at the exact same time, employer demand for jobs that require analytical, technical, or creative work actually grew by 20%.
Okay, let's unpack this. I want to look closely at those vulnerable jobs for a second. The Harvard data specifically points to correspondence clerks, medical transcriptionists, and translators.
Right.
Mechanically speaking, why are those specific roles taking the hit?
Well, it's because of what generative AI actually is at its core. It's a prediction engine. It's designed to translate data from one format into another.
Okay.
So think about a medical transcriptionist. They listen to an audio file and turn it into formatted text, or a correspondence clerk, right?
Mm-hmm.
They take a standard policy and turn it into a formatted customer letter.
It's just moving information around.
Exactly. If your entire job consists of taking data from column A, formatting it, and moving it to column B, you are highly exposed. The AI has already learned how to do that instantly.
Man, it really reminds me of the invention of the spreadsheet in the 80s.
That's a classic comparison.
Yeah, because when the spreadsheet arrived, it killed the literal human calculator job overnight. People whose only job was tallying columns of numbers just lost their jobs. But then it essentially birthed the modern financial analyst.
But it elevated the work.
So are we just shifting the type of work we do, or are we fundamentally changing what it means to be a skilled worker today?
What's fascinating here is that we are fundamentally changing the definition of human utility. The key to understanding this whole divide is realizing that AI is absorbing tasks, not entire professions.
Tasks, not professions.
Okay. If repetitive data formatting is only a fraction of what you do, AI becomes a tool that elevates you. So jobs that require physical dexterity and adaptability.
Like plumbers or tile setters.
Exactly. Those are highly resistant because the physical world is messy, it's unpredictable. Robots cannot navigate a flooded, cluttered basement yet.
But wait, what about the roles that aren't physical? I mean, I remember seeing a study a few months ago where patients actually preferred the bedside manner of a chatbot over a human doctor.
Yeah, I saw that one. Because the AI was endlessly patient.
Right. So are roles like nurses or mental health counselors really insulated if an AI can mimic empathy that well?
That's a great pushback. But we really have to distinguish between mimicking polite text and actual functional emotional intelligence.
Okay, how so?
Well, a chatbot can generate a highly empathetic sounding text message. But a nurse in an emergency room, they have to read the unspoken body language of a terrified patient.
Yeah, you can't code that.
Exactly. They navigate the physical chaos of the room. They make split-second ethical judgments based on incomplete information. AI relies on historical, structured data to make predictions.
Right, it looks at what happened before.
Yeah, so complex leadership roles, high-stakes medical decisions, or any scenario that's totally novel lacks that historical structure. Empathy in the real world can't be entirely coded because it's reactive to unpredictable physical and emotional states.
Okay, that makes sense. Like the AI can write the script, but it can't read the room.
That's a perfect way to put it.
But let's shift gears to the technology itself, because the way we interact with AI has changed so dramatically. I was looking through the CIO magazine data, and they're saying we have moved out of the autocomplete era and into the agentic era.
Yes, the rise of the agents.
Right. So what does an AI agent actually do that a standard chatbot doesn't?
This is the core of the 2026 workflow shift. A standard chatbot is passive. You ask it a question, it gives you a snippet of code or text, and you go manually paste it where it belongs.
Very one-to-one.
Exactly. But an autonomous agent, like Claude Code or GitHub Copilot Workspace, is active. You can give it a broad master goal.
Like what kind of goal?
You can literally just say, there's a bug in the shopping cart of our app. And the agent will independently read through dozens of files to find the bug, plan a multi-step fix, write the new code.
That's wild.
It gets better. It then runs internal tests to make sure it didn't break anything else, and generates a pull request to merge its new code into the main software project. It can do all of this overnight while the human developer is asleep.
Wow. So if these agents are doing the heavy lifting while we sleep, we should be seeing a massive explosion in global economic output, right?
You would think so.
Yeah, because looking at the Artifact Workplace survey, they found individual AI users are saving 57 minutes a day on average.
And the power users are saving even more.
Right, the top 4% are saving over 3 hours every single day. So why isn't the global economy just booming? Where is this macroeconomic spike in productivity?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what you are pointing out is the classic productivity paradox.
The productivity paradox.
Yeah, we saw this in the late 80s with the introduction of the personal computer. Companies bought computers for everyone, but national productivity figures didn't budge for years.
Why not?
Because right now, those massive individual gains, like that hour saved per day, they're completely diffuse. One marketing manager finishes a campaign brief 3 hours faster, but the overall company doesn't launch the product any sooner.
Oh, because the bottleneck isn't the individual speed anymore.
Precisely. The bottleneck today is trust and governance.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I see that friction vividly in the CIO data. It's like having a brilliant but overly eager intern who sometimes hallucinates facts with absolute confidence.
The confident hallucinations are the worst part.
Totally. The data shows that 66% of developers are intensely frustrated by AI solutions that are, quote, almost right.
Which means they still have to step in?
Yeah, and here's the craziest statistic from that source. 45% say debugging AI-generated code actually takes them longer than it would have taken to just write the code themselves from scratch.
It's a huge pain point right now.
But why on earth is it taking longer to fix a machine's mistake than a human's?
Because of the difference between human logic and alien logic.
Alien logic.
Yeah, think about it. When a human junior developer makes a mistake, they usually follow a predictable, logical path to get there. They might use the wrong syntax or forget to close a loop.
Something a person can easily spot.
Exactly. A senior developer can look at that and instantly recognize the human error. But an AI doesn't think logically. It predicts probabilities.
Right.
So when it hallucinates, it might invent a completely non-existent software library that sounds highly plausible and then write 500 lines of code referencing this ghost library.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So a human reviewer looking at that has to untangle an incredibly bizarre alien mistake that makes no logical sense. It requires a tremendous amount of cognitive effort to verify.
So we have these incredibly fast AI cars, but we're forcing them to drive on a dirt road with no stoplights or guardrails. Like, the car can go 300 miles an hour, but you can't actually use that speed safely until you pave the highway and build the infrastructure.
That is the perfect analogy. Until enterprises completely rebuild their top-down workflows, until they build secure, automated environments to properly audit, govern, and trust these AI agents, we just won't see that macroeconomic productivity spike.
The highway has to be rebuilt.
Yes, the highway has to be rebuilt.
But rebuilding that highway has some pretty severe consequences for the people who currently work on the old dirt road.
It really does.
Let's talk about the entry-level workers. I want to bring in the ESPG-TAE study. They focus heavily on the IT and software development fields as this sort of canary in the coal mine for the broader economy.
Right, because the IT sector is where the adoption of these agents is fastest. So the disruption is naturally the most visible there.
Exactly. They are tracking employment shifts, and what they're seeing is a massive disruption they call the J-curve.
The J-curve. It's fascinating, but brutal.
The numbers are absolutely huge. They project that by the end of 2026, 1.8 million routine IT jobs will be displaced globally.
Just gone.
Yeah. For example, Tier 1 help desk roles, like the people who diagnose your network or reset your password, those jobs are dropping by an astounding 45%.
Which is terrifying if you're in one of those roles.
But then the curve swings back up. They project the creation of 2.3 million new AI-specialized jobs. So mathematically, it's actually a net positive of 500,000 jobs.
It is a net positive on a macro scale, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean the transition is painless. The displacement is hitting one demographic incredibly hard.
Junior developers.
Yes.
They are taking the absolute brunt of the hit. The AI is absorbing all the boilerplate coding, the repetitive bug fixes, the documentation updates.
All the entry-level stuff.
Right, the exact stuff that a first-year engineer used to cut their teeth on. Which makes me wonder, if AI absorbs all the entry-level grunt work, how do we train the senior architects of tomorrow? I mean, you can't just spawn a mid-level engineer out of thin air.
This raises an important question, and it's arguably the most dangerous blind spot in current corporate strategy.
Really? The biggest blind spot?
By far. Because by eliminating these entry-level tasks, we are actively destroying the traditional mentorship pipeline. Historically, a junior worker doesn't just do the grunt work to be cheap labor. They do it to build a mental model.
Oh, to understand how everything fits together.
Exactly. When a junior developer writes boilerplate code for a database, they are secretly learning the architecture of that company's entire system. They learn where the weird legacy bugs live. They essentially map the territory in their head.
So if the AI does all the groundwork, the human never gets the map.
That's the problem.
Hmm?
And because the junior tier is being hollowed out, the burden has aggressively shifted upward.
The senior developer.
Yes. Senior engineers are no longer just writing complex code. They have been transformed into middle managers. They are acting as reviewers for fleets of AI agents.
And as we discussed with that alien logic of hallucinations, reviewing AI code that is almost right is incredibly cognitively exhausting.
Exactly. It's draining them.
So these senior engineers are experiencing massive burnout. They're responsible for code they didn't even write, produced at a volume they can barely keep up with, and they have no junior engineers to delegate to because the juniors haven't been given the chance to build their mental models.
It's a vicious cycle.
It sounds like the industry has effectively broken the ladder, and now the seniors are stranded on the roof, just exhausted, trying to figure out how to pull the next generation up.
It's a massive crisis of knowledge transfer. The companies that actually survive this decade will be the ones that figure out how to simulate that entry-level crucible for their new hires without just relying on the old manual grunt work.
Okay, so if the traditional entry-level path is broken and the senior roles are morphing into this exhausting managerial oversight, where is the money actually flowing?
Good question.
Like, if you are listening to this right now and trying to plan your career trajectory, what are the new lucrative paths you should actually be targeting?
Well, you have to look at what the Journal of Advanced and Future Research calls hybrid roles. The market is placing a massive premium on adaptability right now.
The salary premiums detailed in the data are just staggering.
They really are.
For instance, they found that a traditional data analyst makes around $80,000. But an AI proficient data analyst, meaning someone who understands data science, but also knows how to seamlessly supervise and integrate AI agents into their workflow.
They make a lot more.
38% more. They're commanding salaries of $110,000
Mhm.
just for knowing how to direct the tools effectively.
It's an immediate market reward for being the supervisor rather than the manual executor.
And it's not just augmenting old roles either. There's an explosion of completely new titles. Like prompt engineers are seeing starting salaries at $120,000.
It's a gold rush for those specific skills.
And this specific stat just blew my mind. AI ethics and compliance officers are seeing a 300% spike in demand.
Well, that specific spike is heavily driven by legislation, actually, specifically the EU AI Act.
Right. For those who aren't following European tech law closely, the EU AI Act mandates massive transparency.
It's very strict.
Yeah, if a company uses an AI to deny someone a mortgage or filter out a job resume, they legally have to be able to explain exactly why the AI made that decision.
Which is really hard to do with neural networks.
Exactly. So they need human auditors to verify the machine's choices, which is expected to create 85,000 new compliance jobs in Europe alone.
Which just proves that wherever AI operates, a human oversight layer absolutely must be built around it.
So what does this all mean? Because here is my concern with all of this. We have these high-paying new roles, but the ESP Geoterra research points out a terrifying reality. The half-life of a technical skill has plummeted.
It's shrinking so fast.
Right. A software language or a specific technical process used to remain relevant for a few years. Now, the half-life is just 18 months. What you learn today might be totally obsolete in a year and a half.
That's the reality we're facing.
So how do you build a stable career on a foundation that crumbles every 18 months?
You have to fundamentally change your approach to value creation. The concept of the traditional specialist, someone who just memorizes a single coding language or masters one highly specific, rigid process.
Like the old way of doing things.
Yeah, that's becoming a massive liability.
Yeah.
As the artifact study points out, enterprise knowledge assistants are giving everyone in the company instant access to specialized technical information.
Right.
So if anyone in the marketing department can just ask an AI to write perfect Python code, then simply knowing Python syntax is no longer a premium skill, it's table stakes.
So then what is the premium skill?
The premium skill is being a polymath, a generalist. You need a broad understanding of multiple domains so you can connect the dots that the AI cannot see.
Connecting the dots.
Yes, and it is vital to remember this psychological shift. In the workforce of 2026, you aren't actually competing against AI. You're competing against another human who knows how to use AI better than you do.
Wow. That reframes the entire anxiety of the labor market. You aren't racing the machine, you're racing the person driving the machine.
Precisely. Therefore, the skills that are insulated from that 18-month decay are the deeply human ones.
Like what?
Soft skills. They're becoming the hard currency of the 2026 workplace. We're talking about critical thinking, deep empathy, complex communication, and ethical judgment.
Because the AI can't do that.
Right. An AI agent can generate 1,000 different marketing strategies in 5 seconds, but it takes a human with emotional intelligence to look at those strategies, understand the cultural nuance, gauge the emotional state of the target audience.
And actually decide which one will resonate without causing some massive public relations disaster.
Exactly. The human becomes the editor, the ethical backstop, and the strategic visionary.
The editor and the visionary. I love that. I mean, that perfectly encapsulates the journey we've taken through this research today. AI is clearly not a simple binary job killer.
No, it's far more complicated than that.
It is. It's forcing this massive, uncomfortable structural shift in our workflows. It is actively transforming human workers from manual executors of rigid tasks into strategic supervisors of intelligent agents.
It's an evolution.
Yeah, and yes, it is creating a very painful temporary J-curve of disruption, especially for those junior developers losing their training ground. But the other side of that curve is incredibly lucrative for those who learn to pave the new highway.
And stepping onto that new highway requires a fundamental shift in how we view our own utility.
Definitely.
Which kind of leaves us with a philosophical concept to ponder. Because for centuries, our definition of hard work and craft has been deeply tied to execution.
Right. It was the sweat equity. The physical or mental effort of producing the answer, writing the code line by line, drafting the brief word by word.
The grind of finding the answer.
Exactly.
But if AI takes over the execution of our tasks, and human work shifts entirely to strategy, validation, ethical compliance, and emotional connection,
What happens to our fundamental understanding of craft?
That's the question. As we move forward, it seems highly likely that the future workplace will be a world where the ability to ask the right questions is universally valued far more than the ability to find the right answers.
Because the machine has the answers.
Exactly. The machine has the answers, but the human must have the wisdom to point the machine in the right direction.
That is such a profound shift, the wisdom to ask the right question. So, as you go back to your day and look at the tasks sitting on your desk, ask yourself, am I the manual executor here or am I the strategic supervisor?
It's the most important question you can ask yourself right now.
It really is. Because the ground is definitely shifting, the seismograph is going wild, and the absolute best way to survive the earthquake is to make sure you're the one deciding where the new foundation gets poured. Wishing you all the best on your own personal deep dive. We'll catch you next time.